Next curve.
Do we want to lay back? Or
yeah, lay back. Hey everyone, this is Leonard Lee, Executive Analyst at Next Curve, and I'm here at Qualcomm Snapdragon Summit 2023 in Maui, and I'm joined by Cutress, who is actually quite a well-known dude, right? You're a well-known fellow in the semiconductor industry.
It's
well-regarded.
I was a journalist for a decade.
Yeah.
Became an analyst. I also have a YouTube channel with 100,000 subscribers.
Congratulations. When did that happen?
A couple of weeks ago, actually. Yeah, so riding high for a little bit.
Yeah. Great. And so Tech Potato.
Channel's called Tech Potato.
Right.
My company is called More Than More.
More Than More.
I chose that name, A, because we're in an industry where it's all about what happens beyond Moore's Law.
Right.
And also, if I'm ever on TV, it's better for the chyron to say More Than More than Tech Potato.
Okay.
It's a bit more serious.
Well, you know, I follow your channel. I follow your work. You do great stuff. And
I can only apologize.
Well, you know, I mean, 100,000 followers, right, or subscribers to your channel. That says something, you know. But no. I mean, seriously, you're well regarded in the industry amongst analysts as well. So glad to have you on. But hey, so what did you think? I mean, what were your takes? I know there's definitely certain things that we cannot talk about yet, right? But what were your impressions? What were the things that really popped for you? Pop.
So normally this summit is all about smartphone, maybe some connectivity, maybe some XR, AR. This year it's been very much pivoted to about 80% of it compute, notebook, and 20% smartphone, everything else. And I think that's indicative of Qualcomm's strategy, knowing where it is strongest and realizing where the potential for market growth is. Right? It's you can plug the market of which you are the market leader, but there's no TAM growth any day of the week. But to actually enter a new market with a competitive product and go after some of that incumbency that's there, that can only be revenue accretive, and if you do a premium product, it's also margin accretive. So the fact that they're announcing their new high-performance compute notebook chip, you know, coming out middle of next year. The thing that's interesting is that it's a really early time to be talking about this. So they're building a chip, they're building, working with partners to build devices, you know, using the ARM architecture to go compete against Intel and AMD. Normally when Intel and AMD have a new product to announce, they start talking about it maybe a month, 6 weeks before it comes out. In this case, we're talking like 4, 5, 6 months before it comes out. And I think that's just because they're that excited about it, and they want to kind of take the market in a new direction with all the smartphone knowledge that they have.
Well, you know, I mean, the numbers that they did show and the benchmarks that they did allow us to take a look at and disclose it. It looks like they did some impressive engineering work, right? And unsurprisingly, given, you know, the acquisition of Nuvia and the assets they have there, right?
They're talking about numbers of, you know, 30% better here, 70% better here, 2x better graphics performance against stuff that's already in the market. You know, or doing that at 70% more efficiency against x86, which is insane. And then, and obviously because it's ARM, it gets compared to Apple. Even though this is a Windows system first and foremost, and it's still really competitive against Apple, beating it in either performance or efficiency. Obviously canned tests that we can't verify. Thankfully, I know the guy who actually ran those tests, and he used to be a colleague when I was a journalist. You know, works with Nuvia.
That's right.
So it's if there's anybody to you know, have confidence in the numbers that they're putting out, you know, it's him. The question is whether the competitive numbers are still going to be competitive when they come out with devices again in 4, 5, 6 months. Because we know that Intel's going to have a new generation in Meteor Lake.
Meteor Lake.
That's coming out December 14th, and we'll probably see stuff in the market Q1. AMD, they haven't announced a next generation x86 chip, but it's probably around the corner at this point for the time scales lining up. And then we've got the Apple event, which they actually just sent the invites out yesterday morning. For next week, and people think that's going to be their new laptop chip being announced.
Right.
So it's a very fast-paced market right now between today and launch. So
but generally speaking, okay, Orion and the new processor aside, which is part of the new Series X, Snapdragon Series X, what are some of the other things that you thought were kind of interesting and caught your eye outside of the compute? So because Qualcomm calls it compute and smartphone, right? The smartphone was the other biggest. They technically launched a new smartphone chip, which would usually be the big announcement, right? And it's been kind of relegated this time around. Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. They had Xiaomi on stage because they launched their phone with the chip last night. Normally this event is in December, and they announced a new chip, and it comes out. The devices come out in January. This time, October, and the device is already October. Xiaomi just knocked it out of the park in terms of timing. That's a really impressive chip, even though they kind of haven't pushed it as much. Higher performance, better efficiency. I've luckily been able to get my hands on it, and there's beeping in the background. That's going to be nice. Well, I know. Well, we try to keep it real here, so it's okay. No editing.
The gaming performance on the chip looks really nice. They're boosting that a fair amount. The smartphone's already been the herald for Qualcomm in gaming. And they're pushing the Snapdragon gaming along with Snapdragon sound and some of the other stuff. So
I want to ask you something. What's your interpretation, your point of view on this idea of AI PC? So I am going back, but because that, I think in the discussions that we've had here in the last few days, that's been number one, the word that's probably been used the most, if anything.
The more times you use it, the higher the stock price goes up. That's usually how it works.
I mean, but what's your take on it? Because Qualcomm's not the only company that's talking about AI PC. We hear Intel talk about it. We have pretty much everyone talk about it that's in the Windows universe. So Intel's vision is to make it like the next Centrino moment. AI PC is the next enabler. I actually came up with a thought process just this week, because obviously laptops, or just chips in general, when you look at it, there's several main components and they do different things. Though most of them only have necessarily one major function. So the GPU is designed to do graphics and gaming. The modem or the Wi-Fi is to do connectivity, and that's all they do. Now we have a new element on these chips for AI, for machine learning. But it doesn't just do one thing, right? And I think that's going to be part of the issue here, and that's defining the killer use case. Everybody's going towards LLMs with Llama 2, the sort of ChatGPT style. What can we run on device, whether it's help desks or whether it's something like Stable Diffusion with images. They're all kind of picking around, and we're getting to the point where I like to use the analogy of these are the people who make the pickaxes, for the mining. They don't know what the pickaxes are going to be used for, or that they just have to guess how many to make, and that's going to be part of the ecosystem issue that both Intel, Qualcomm, and AMD and Apple are going to have to bring to the table, and that's going to cost money as well. To do that outreach, to do that developer training, and have unified standards such that we're still machine learning is moving so fast, and hardware by contrast moves so slow. The standards in this industry haven't really caught up. I mean, you have things like Windows ML, but then you also have ML on Android, and then Apple does its own thing, and Intel does its own thing with OpenVINO and One API, and then you have ZenDNN for AMD. Because we're still finding out the best way to do machine learning, everybody's throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. Unfortunately, that's also where most of the messaging is going. And which means that if you try and find
things unifying between companies, it gets confusing. You can usually stick to one company and that's a cohesive message.
Yeah.
Between multiple, I think the public are going to find it extremely confusing.
Yeah.
And it's going to be up to people like us and the press to try and cut through some of that messaging and tell these guys where to, what it needs to happen.
Well, you know, I'll tell you, the thing that resonated with me, or at least I thought was a compelling talking point from Qualcomm, was heterogeneous compute more than anything else. I mean, quite honestly. And, you know, the role of AI engine and kind of providing that quote-unquote more heterogeneous type of layer on top of all this IP that Qualcomm has on chip, right? I don't know, what's your take on that?
Well, so heterogeneous computing has been around for ages, and sometimes it gets called this, sometimes they steer away from it. Where, you know, I go back to the GPU's case. The GPU is an idea of heterogeneous compute. You want to do graphics, you don't do it on the CPU, you do it on dedicated silicon. We've had video decode, video encode, or Apple, you know, with the ProRes stuff, or, you know, now with AV1 or VP9. The public is very used to the idea, consciously or not, that dedicated silicon makes stuff go faster. They don't necessarily need to know the details, and sometimes it's not even a selling point, right? It just, you sell on the experience in the end.
Exactly.
As we get more and more denser and denser process nodes, right? One of the things, or this whole strategy of chiplets and 3D integration, one of the things that brings to the table is more transistors, right? You can only use so many transistors to bring up the CPU performance, the GPU performance. At some point you start using it on other dedicated areas of silicon to do machine learning. So Qualcomm has the hexagon, you know, DSP, NPU. It does scalar, vector, matrix, microtile inferencing. As they're getting more transistors, they're doing it for a lot more, so they can cover a wider aspect of the software ecosystem about what's best for what. The funny thing is, with the compute platform they've just announced, okay, heterogeneous compute, but we're used to these platforms being big, little with ARM cores. Whereas this is this is just 12 high-performance cores. There are no efficiency cores because they say these are sufficiently efficient for the market, and we're going to have to wait until we get one to find out whether that's true or not.
And we were told a couple of other things. I don't know if I'd have to check with Lauren to see if I can, or Tony to see if I can mention it. But I'll err on the side of not getting in trouble.
That's always a safe bet. You don't want legal on your.
But hey, Ian, you know what? It's great to have you on the show.
No worries.
On
Anytime.
the podcast, and you know, keep up the great work. You know, I think you know, I know a lot of my peers and, you know, folks that I know really appreciate your work. And you know, are you hungry? Are you jonesing for a chip? You know?
Oh yeah.
Like always going around the world by waiting for.
Well, no. So the Snapdragon X Elite chip, they've got it here in loose sight, right? A few people have it. We can't take them home, unfortunately. I took a picture of me biting one. Within the hour, I had messages saying, "How big are your teeth?" Because people were trying to estimate the die size. I don't know how big my teeth are. I don't have calipers. Charlie has the calipers. He's around here somewhere. I have a screwdriver. I came prepared with a screwdriver.
He did come prepared. Was expecting a lot more. But anyways, hey, thanks for joining us. And remember to follow NextCurve at www.next-curve.com. And you know, follow Ian Cutress and Tech Potato, as well as More Than More.
More Than More.
Right. And you want to give your digits out to the audience?
Yeah, it's iancutress.com. Just has all the data, or just Google me. There's only 2 people in the world with my name, and the other guy works in procurement in New Zealand.
Really?
I'm the other.
That's absolutely amazing. Well, anyways, thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.